Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim. This is another Real Ideal Gear Review. Today we're going to be looking at my work watches. The work watches that I have are a variety of different styles and qualities to them that make them a work watch, that also qualify them for certain types of work. I don't use all of these watches for all the work that I do. Some watches I set aside because it's just maybe too abusive or too much impact for the watch to handle, reasonably handle. And other watches, I don't care. I'm always wearing a watch, so I do have a watch that will cover all the circumstances. But like you guys, as far as watch collections go, I have at least more than one watch. So sit back and enjoy this one. We're going to go through a bunch of watches. You've probably seen a number of these already. If you haven't seen them, I've done a review, I think, on just about every one of these watches. So take a look at those. And also look at my State of the Collection Outdoor Series, as many of these watches are also found in my Outdoor Series. So I'm going through my watches in different ways of categorizing them or the uses that they have, and you'll see them pop up in different videos. So sit back and enjoy. Work watches. What do I think qualifies a watch to be a work watch? Well, number one, you have to wear it while you're working. And number two, it has to survive the time that it is working so that you can wear it again. So some of those things, those basic functions, and it has to be something that obviously keeps track of time. And for me, on occasion, more often than maybe I even keep track of, I need to keep track of the elapsed time. So whether I'm, putting down chemicals for something, whether I'm doing a project for something I'm charging by the hour, I need to keep track of time. So all of these watches will do that. You don't need to have a stopwatch or a rotating timer bezel to do that. The fact that the watch is keeping track of time, it makes it a timer. Okay, start time, end time, do the math, and you're good to go. But what are the watches that I use for work, and why do I use those watches for work? What are the conditions that I kind of, protect my watches from, or intentionally wear them in those circumstances that are very abusive, very abrasive? And we'll talk a little bit about that. So I have three things that are like my primary priorities when it comes down to a work watch. Number one is water resistance. I work outdoors, and water resistance is an important part of this because I work out in the rain sometimes. I don't like to be in the rain the entire time, but it may start raining on me, and I may have to finish up what I'm doing. And I'm going to be soaking wet when I'm done, which means the watch is going to be soaking wet, which also means that, whatever dirt and stuff that I have on my arms, it's going to work its way underneath the case. And so water resistance, or the ability for this watch to be sealed and sealed well, is an important characteristic. So when you see these watches here, all but one, which is the Bulova here, really have good water resistance. So when I'm wearing a watch and I don't want to have to worry about whether or not it can get wet, I'll wear all of these with the exception of this Bulova. Okay. Another piece to this is the timing function. And, when you look at different watches, you have, the classic stopwatch function. All right. So you have your start and stop. Okay. And you keep track of time of that. You can keep track of time that way. You can also keep track of time by using the timing bezel on a dive watch. So by putting the 12 o'clock or the 60-minute or the hour marker, the pip, wherever the minute hand is, just set it up, and I can keep track of elapsed time as the hand rotates around. Often, because when I keep track of time with a dive watch, I'll set it up on the hour, because technically all I need to know is the hour. Okay, on this watch, it's a little past 11. It's almost half past 11 because of the position of the hour hand between the 11 and the 12. So I know it's close to 11:30. So I don't necessarily have to have the minute hand to be able to tell the time. So when I want to time something for more than an hour, I almost always set it up on the hour hand. Okay, so using the bezel on a dive watch is very helpful for that. Legibility is another top high priority. All of these watches, if you have a white dial like this Hammerhead, the Zelos Hammerhead Frost, I need to have dark hands that go with it. Okay, I'm not going to wear a watch that has a white dial with white hands and then take it out to work and not have my reading glasses on most of the time and try to expect myself to read the time on the clock. This is probably as close as it's going to get to a watch where the legibility is a little bit more in question. This is a steel dive Willard, obviously a pale yellow dial, and the hands have, you know, the lume on them and kind of a bronze silver outlining on them, which helps. So I can see this. This is about as close to unlegible as I'm going to get with the color coordination of the dial. This is one of my favorite watches just for the dial color. I love the dial color. Great water resistance. One of the best bezels out there is the steel dive. Does a fantastic job. I just love it. It stays put. There's very little to no play in the bezel. Awesome bezel. Okay, so the top three things: water resistance needs to be 100 meters, timing function of some sort that's more than just the watch itself, and then also legibility, the ability to just take a look at the watch and read it. As far as Casio watches go, or the digital watches, we've got 4 Casio watches over here. We have the classic square 5610U. We've got the Big Sky W736. We've got the Greyman, which is the W800. And then we've got the Casio Pathfinder, the ProTrek Pathfinder triple sensor. So just a real quick comment on just the digital side of things. When looking at these digital watches, as far as the overall qualities I'm looking for legibility, I'm looking for the stopwatch function, ease of use, so the buttons, the location of the buttons, the strap needs to be robust to stay on the wrist. These are the watches I'm going to use for the most abuse for the jobs that I have. And so of these 4, you know, the ones that I've worn the most have been the Casio triple sensor, this guy right here, and the Greyman. The Square and the Big Sky, I do like them. They're just a little bit more clunky. The Big Sky especially, it's a very tall, I think it's 16 millimeters. It's one of the tallest watches I have, because you have these crystal protectors way above where the bezel would normally be. They extend above that just to protect the crystal, the mineral crystal, from being scratched up, which is good. But when it comes down to just ease of legibility or ease of use, you know, the Big Sky and the Big Sky over here and the Greyman, they have the biggest numbers. Now, I can read all 3 of these no problem when it comes down to not wearing my reading glasses. It's not an issue. But when I'm looking for the most clutter-free dial or clutter-free display, it's going to be the Big Sky. This is the one that has the best, you know, ease of use when it comes to readability. Also, it has a vibration alarm. So if I'm supposed to be somewhere, the alarm vibrates, I can be there, no problem. I don't have to have, you know, everything quiet so I can hear the alarm. The Square, the alarm on the Square, and this is comments I've heard more than once, the sound from the Square is pretty subdued. It's not real loud. Even when you turn on the alarm feature for the Big Sky, it's a loud alarm. The Greyman has a loud alarm, and even the Pathfinder has the loud alarm. So as far as notifications go, the Square is one that actually has a harder time with the alarm sound itself. Overall legibility, I prefer the triple sensor. It's super easy to use because look at this. When I have the stopwatch function active, I can still read the time, no problem whatsoever. So in the spring and fall, when I'm doing a lot of cleanups and I hit my start stop button on here and I'm recording how much time I'm spending on a property, I can read it super easy. When you get to something like say the Greyman, and I get to the stopwatch function, look at where the time is. Time is way down here. Small digits, hard to read. So when you have something like that, these are the things you kind of I keep a track of when it comes down to legibility, not only when I'm using the stopwatch function, but also the stopwatch function as it relates to where is the time. And all of these have a similar issue with the exception of the Pathfinder. And even more so, the Square is the one that has the hardest time with this. Now, granted, this is a model that's from the 1980s. So, you know, when you look at the time up here at the upper right-hand corner, you know, you get the time and you get the stopwatch. So if you can handle it, you got them both. I just prefer the ease of use of the triple sensor Pathfinder. So if there was one digital watch that really satisfies all that, it's going to be the digital Pathfinder. A field watch like this, SWC Bunker, Swiss watch company, Bunker. No timing bezel, okay? It does have the water resistance, but it doesn't have the timing function other than the clock itself or the watch itself. And it's extremely legible. I mean, you can see the hands against this black dial, no problem whatsoever, okay? So you may give up a quality for another purpose. Am I going to wear this one when I'm expecting wet weather? Absolutely not. Am I going to wear this when I'm doing all kinds of work in the middle of July and I'm going to be sweating like a pig? No, because of the leather strap. Now, I can swap it out for a rubber strap and I'm good to go, okay, other than the timing function. So you can make compromises, but again, just kind of beware of how the watch, under what circumstances the watch is going to be used. Mechanical function, almost all of these are mechanical watches. There's a few quartzes in here. There's quartz over here in the digital side. But on the mechanical side, I'm not going to wear these when I'm chainsawing wood, when I'm splitting firewood, those kind of things. It's just too much vibration, aggressive vibration. And then the impact of hammering away with a splitting maul it's just not appropriate, I think, for this kind of a watch overall. Will it handle it? Probably. And as a matter of fact, I've worn these doing some of that kind of stuff. But I think the more that you expose a watch like that, mechanical watch, automatic watch to that, the more likely you're going to have issues down the line. So I prefer to use quartz. So these are my quartz watches that are not digital. The MDC, the Nighthawk, the Citizen Aqualand, okay, and then the Baltany over here, military chrono. These quartz watches are awesome. They're just grab and go. They're ready to go. It breaks up the monotony of wearing a digital watch, honestly. And it's a little more of a style feature. It's easy to read. I think analog watches are way easier to read at a glance than digital, because digital watches tend to be smaller when it comes to their readout function. So these are the watches that are quartz. They are always ready to go. And I love having quartz watches on hand. So if you don't have any quartz watches, get one. I recommend getting a digital one for work. But also quartz watches on the analog side, I don't have to worry about. If I'm chainsawing wood, I'll wear the Nighthawk, no problem. I don't even mind wearing the Aqualand. This is a beast. I think it's over 15 millimeters. Okay. All kinds of steel on this one. It's heavy, heavy duty. It's an eco drive. So leave this on the windowsill and just, let it continue to absorb light and it's going to be fine. It has an adjustable clasp on the back. So I can adjust this for, my watch, my wrist, getting swelled up because of the heat and all that. Or in the cool weather, when you're sitting down relaxing, you can crunch this down just a little bit and make it feel a little bit tighter on the wrist. And so the practicality of some of these things, even the same thing on this chronograph right here, it has an adjustable clasp. And I'm really liking the adjustable clasps. I'm putting them more. I'm going to try and find more of them to fit onto some of these other divers. But the ability to have a quartz watch, keep track of time is incredible. You have also chronographs. When it comes down to keeping track of time, you have the analog version and you also have the stopwatch version, which right there, reset, super easy to use on a digital watch, okay? On the analog watch, this Baltany is almost perfect with the exception of the 60-minute timer or counter at the top in the 12 o'clock position, the 12 o'clock subdial. It only goes up to 60 and then it stops. It doesn't continue to rotate around for the next hour. So you can only record 1 hour, 60 minutes, and then that stops. Now, the clock itself, the hands don't stop, rotating. So, if you know when you started, you just use the hands. But the whole point of the stopwatch, in my opinion, was, keep going after an hour. I didn't realize it stopped at an hour. So, but this is one of my favorite watches to wear to work. The double strap on the NATO raises the profile. However, sapphire crystal, it's quartz, it's ready to go to work. The second hand, not an issue for me as far as just annoying quartz movement because it's so small, it doesn't move across very much real estate. You've also got screw down pushers, so that means that your water resistance is really good. And if I need to time something that's an hour or less, easy to do. Your second hand is super easy to watch. The minute hand is great. So if I'm doing, let's say, an application of something and I'm timing, X amount of application over 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever. This watch does a great job for that. Has the flyback, reset, and back in business. So chronographs are great. They come in the analog form and they also come in the digital form. So just be aware there's a couple of ways to do that. When it comes down to just doing estimates, I don't wear this watch when I go out and do estimates in front of customers. I think it sends the wrong message. I think it's the perception-wise, I'm going to get the wrong conclusion made about me and my lifestyle and the way I like to live. But at the same time, I love the look of the watch. So I pick and choose where I wear some of these watches. This really bright Signum Cuda, awesome watch. It's an eye catcher. And when it comes down to working with customers and that, they almost always look at this watch. Some of them ask, what kind of watch is that? And then I tell them, this is a pretty straightforward watch, nothing super special. I said, but the lume on this watch is insane. And so if they're a watch person, they'll start talking more about it. If not, it kind of ends there. But this is a titanium case, titanium bracelet, tough as nails. It's a great watch, bright, changes things up. So when I wear a watch like this, it just changes up the whole day. And I look forward to wearing different watches on different days. The Aqualand, if I'm looking for an aesthetic of just, kick butt aesthetic, this is one of them. I mean, it's got that look to it. Am I ever going to use this watch the way that it was designed? Almost certainly no. Okay, I don't say certainly no because I've been known to do things like mountaineering and that. But anyway, almost certainly no. Great bezel for timing. It does the things I need it to do. The unfortunate side is this is a mineral crystal. So you have a really tall watch and a mineral crystal. And it's a scratch magnet when it comes down to it. So, but I love the color. I mean, the burnt orange bezel on here, insert, is one of my favorite colors. It might be the favorite color that I have. This is a little bit too bright. This one's a little bit more subdued. I like the subdued colors a little bit, okay? It just, I don't know. It's got color, but it's not in your face color. But there's this part of this, when you're wearing these watches, or if you have more than one watch, go through and wear these watches. Find the ones that actually fit those qualities for work, respect the design, and wear the watches, change things up and enjoy it. So there you have it. That's my review on work watches, some ideas on why I wear certain watches for certain things. Keep an eye on the case, the strap, the movement, legibility, water resistance, and then just the kind of work that you're doing. All those things kind of go together in figuring out which watches I wear to work. So my name is Tim. This has been another Real Ideal Gear Review. If you have any watches that you're just beating on, it's your beater watch, it's your work watch, share those in the comments down below. Let's see what you have out there. Let's see which watch looks the most beat up and still works. The key here, it has to still work. That is the qualification. We'll see who has the most beat up worker watch in our subscriber list. All right, you guys have a great day. We'll catch you next time.